Hey guys, this is chess coach Andrew Rankin. Welcome back to another game of Kaizen chess, or in Chinese, 改善象棋. So this is going to be video 3. Unfortunately, I just played a game, and it was a great game. Nice tactics and calculation, and then I realized that I forgot to plug my microphone in for the first 5 minutes, and so it's just me going for most of the game, or most of the opening. So that's a bummer, but hopefully we can get another good game, some nice tactical complications and opportunities to improve our calculation. So we are white. This is going to be our first game as white in all of my video series. We have d4, d5, very principled. You can play knight to f3 here, bishop f4, the London system, or we can play a queen's gambit. My opponent is Rhino UK from Namibia, and he has played over 294 games. So his rating is quite well established. Now, this is the Slav Defense. Very solid for black. I like the way he's playing. I like this defense. I play it as myself. So here we have a couple options. You can play knight to c3, which is probably your main line. You can play knight to f3, which is the move that I'm looking at. I really like that move. Yeah, let's go ahead and play knight to f3. He plays knight to f6, which makes a lot of sense. And now I really like playing the move queen to c2. The idea here is that we delay the development of our knight, so we don't run into any main lines. Queen to c2 is definitely a sideline, but it is still a book move, and it's very good. The idea is that we simply want to stop the move bishop to f5. So now he plays the move e6, which means that he probably should have just played e6, a queen's gambit declined from the beginning instead of the move c6, because this bishop is stuck outside the pawn chain. And our queen does a nice job defending the c4 pawn. That was the second point that I wanted to make. So any shenanigans with d takes c4, and we can just take with the queen. Also, we don't have to play the move e3 too early to take back with the bishop, so we're free to develop our dark square bishop. And that's what I'm thinking about doing right here. The question is, does the bishop go to g5 or does the bishop go to f4? I'm leaning towards bishop to f4 because after bishop to d6, we drop back. And if he takes, we take. Let's say the h file opens up. Our queen is already on the h7 pawn, so that really helps us. And the bishop can even join the attack, and then maybe the knight goes here so that the knight takes back on c4 and then jumps into e5. I guess I can't draw arrows today. For some reason my mouse pad has been really finicky. So I really like the move bishop f4 here. Is there any downside with bishop f4? So I'm guessing he's going to play bishop to d6. But let's look at alternative moves for him, like knight here. Don't think that accomplishes a whole lot. We could even go here, and if he pushes the pawn, then we drop back, and his pawn structure just gets weakened, and if we end up trading off, we still get the open h file. And we play e3 in the future, and we get our dark square pawn complex. So this is not our best bishop, so we're not worried about trading him off. So yeah, bishop here, knight h5 doesn't seem to work. Bishop d6 we already talked about. Knight d7, then we just play e3, I think. I'm guessing. Also, this is a move. But then we just go knight to d2. I think the knights are nice in protecting one another. e3, bishop d3, castle. What's interesting about the Queen's Gambit, there's actually a lot of variations, and this is important to keep in mind because you kind of want to be asking yourself, which piece do I want to delay developing? In the Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation, it's actually the knight on g1 that often ends up delaying until the last piece to develop and goes to e2. And in this variation, I actually think that it's the b knight. So we're going to castle. And then we're going to figure out whether the knight goes to d2 to guard c4 or whether he goes to c3 to prepare, e4 or just be a good piece that maybe prepares a minority attack. So yeah, this is something that I often think about when I'm playing Queen's Gambit Declined. From the white side, is which piece do I kind of delay developing until I castle and then really start to figure it out. It's actually really useful when you find openings that have a piece that delays its development because it really tells you what pieces you should be moving. If you know I don't move that piece, then you know, okay, that's one less thing I need to worry about, so I'll focus on my other pieces. So it'd be very natural to touch this piece right after you touch this piece or this piece. But if we know, hey, don't touch this piece, then we know our plan is this. Right? Very simple, and we don't get ourselves into trouble. We also allow ourselves to avoid trouble with developing this guy too early and maybe running into, some pseudo Cambridge Springs attack, which looks very uncomfortable. So the Cambridge Springs looks like this, where just everything is attacking c3. I think we just drop back here. And if he takes, we'll take towards the center. And if he leaves the tension, I really like that because it stops his knight from going to d7 because then the bishop is hanging. So is there anything wrong with e3 here? Again, if he takes, we take with the h-pawn, and now that he's castled, this looks even stronger. So we basically get a London bishop, the London situation where the bishops are looking at each other. We also threaten to drop the knight into e5, but we're more flexible. In other words, we can play on the queen side. We can play in the center because we have a pawn that's breaking at the center already, or we can play on the king side. So I feel like this is a very nice setup for white. And now it's really hard for him to develop his pieces. Oops, let me bring that back. Check the video, make sure that it all looks good. It does. So yeah, what does he play here? Yeah, he takes. Does he realize that any piece going to d7 would just blunder bishop takes d6? Now if we can get this knight to go away, we're going to mate him. Why not put more pressure on h7? We could also jump in. If he takes, we take, and then he gets mated on h7 or he loses the knight. Is it too soon to get aggressive like that? Knight here. I mean, then this guy comes over and it makes sense because we already have two pieces attacking his queen side. So knight to e5. Let's do it. This is not really worried about this because then the knight goes to d2. Well, I'm guessing he's going to play h6. He probably realizes that knight takes, pawn takes, and then if the knight moves, then he gets mated. So in order to prepare knight takes, he's going to play the move h6. That's what I'm guessing. But h6, knight to d2. He goes there. Okay. Could play f4. You could also take, and then bring the knight over and do the same thing. I mean, if we take, he has to take with the bishop, and look at this awful bishop. Also just f4. F4, knight takes knight. And this knight's stuck guarding here. If we take, he takes, and the bishop can no longer fianchetto, which means his break becomes a lot weaker. Take. Knight d2. Just prepare this. Yeah, makes sense. I actually don't love this position for white. We just wait for him to take and then we take back. Yeah, I like the knight on d2 when this pawn is threatened to being taken, because then we can develop the bishop without losing a tempo, because if he takes, we can take with the knight and then jump into e5. Also, we guard e4, so there is no knight e4, which blocks the queen. Sorry I'm yawning so much, guys. Had an early lesson at the school today, and then did parent demonstration in the last day of summer camp. So it was a long day. In fact, when I left in the morning, I was like, wow, I'm getting early start to the day, and then I'll have the afternoon off. And then when I got off work, it was 5 o'clock, and I was like, how is it 5 o'clock already? Where's our bishop going? Does he go here or does he go to e2? I guess he's preparing e5. So maybe we jump the knight in this way. I mean, it looks good. This is like a forever outpost. This is greedy. He has no more check. His queen's not here, so he has no more checks. Also, if he jumps here, then we can go here. So maybe we go here first. And then when he plays h6, then we play knight f3, guarding that. If he takes, then we can take with the queen or with the bishop. Either way, we still guard the knight jump in. So yeah, let's go bishop to d3. Also gives us the option of takes jumping in this way and still having the threat of bishop takes h7. So I think we're going to give up on winning the h7 square, and now we're going to fight for the e5 square. Just play a regular game and castle here in a second. Yeah, go here. Stop his plan of breaking at the center, which gets his bishop active. So now we're playing against this bishop. I think that's a bad piece. So takes b5, and the knight jumps in. Do we take with the bishop or with the queen? It's actually a very interesting question. Yes, either way, b5 is coming. Let's take with the bishop. b5, knight here, and then we move back and we come with an attack on c6. And then bishop's going to go to e2 so we can transfer over to f3 and get on the long diagonal. Like a pseudo fianchetto. So if we go here, I'm guessing the queen goes here. Oh, but then we can take. So the queen has to go like here or here, but she's not going to go here because the bishop wants to go there. So here. That looks fine for me. So we win this pawn at the end. Trade bishop and knight for a queen. That looks good. This is the idea, but if he moves to the wrong square with the queen, then this is pinned and we can just take the pawn. So he has to go here, I think, only move. And then we go here. And then when he goes here, we can go here. Oh, he goes there. Wrong square, man. Now we have bishop takes b5. Be sure. Oh wait, queen check. Queen check. That's why you castle, my friends. So here, castles. Then we have this threat. Yeah, we gotta get castled. Because he's gonna give a check. We could even block with this and take with the king, and the king babysits the open file like we were talking about in video 2. Looks pretty good. Do we want our king on d2 though? I mean, I can see a rook here and a pawn coming here being pretty annoying, but the knight can always reroute this way, attack the bishop, blockade the... Again, this is a backwards pawn, so we probably want the knight on c5 to blockade the backwards pawn, and then have the bishop put pressure on it, and the rooks line up on the c file. I like our position. Black has weaknesses, that's for sure. The double G pawns, I don't really care about those. The action's going to be happening on the queen side, and that's fine. We have our bishops aiming that way. He's got a bad piece, especially if it goes to one of these squares. We have a fantastic knight. So knight to d7 here, I think. Knight d7, and then I think we play knight to d3. And we just say, nope. We don't want to trade off our knight. These squares are just too valuable. I'm going to always be threatening to jump in. So queen a5 check, queen d2, queen takes, king takes. Looks okay. Because we're threatening this pawn at the end of that. And then when he goes here, we can go here. I'm guessing he goes here. We go rook here. Or even this rook over here, because our king will be on d2. He goes there. Okay, now we castle and we just threaten bishop takes c5, right? But then he has this. Castles and then this. No, because we play queen takes. And he doesn't have this because the pawn is... Oh yeah, let's castle. We delayed castling for way too long. You know you delay castling for too long when you have tactics, but they don't work because your king is in the center. For example, on the last move we had bishop takes, but he had the queen check. So that sucks. Now he's preparing this. So rook f to c1, or we can go knight here and then reroute to get in. But I do like rook f to c1 because it reinstates the threat of bishop takes b5, and it stops this because we have queen takes, or yeah, queen takes, and then queen takes here. So let's go rook f to c1. I'm guessing he's going to play a6. And we could play a4. He pushes, we play queen here. Then he still has this. No, I don't want my queen on c5. I want the knight on c5. I also would like my rooks doubled on the c file. And the queen maybe on b4 or d3. He goes there, that makes sense. He's threatening c5 now. No, he's not. c5, queen takes, rook takes. Yeah, he is going to play c5. And if I take with the pawn, I lose the knight. If I take with the queen, I lose the queen. So I think I have to play knight to d3 here, blockade the pawn, and then prepare this. That makes a lot of sense. I think knight to d7 is the only way to like challenge these dominating squares that my knight has. If we keep this pawn from moving forward, then this piece is always a bad piece, and we can just play against this for the whole game. Even if he goes knight here, we still jump into c5, and if he trades, I mean, we're happy to trade and sink another rook into c5, double up, and then play bishop f3, and that pawn is not going to live long. I mean, he can put all of his rooks behind it and the bishop, but passive defense will eventually crack. Remember that, guys. Passive defense will always eventually crack. Gotta get active. I do want to stop this. This is kind of annoying. What about c5, knight takes e5? Pawn takes, rook takes, queen takes. I don't think that's very good. Yeah, that just sacrifices a pawn, and I don't think we end up. I don't think black's position gets much better after that. So I'm looking at c5, knight takes, e5, pawn takes. If he takes with the rook, we can actually play knight takes bishop, rook takes queen, knight takes queen, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, and we end up winning a bishop, rook, and queen for a queen and rook. We just win a piece in that variation. So we'd have to take with the queen here. Goes there. Okay. Can I go here, trade off the knight, and then sink the knight into c5? Can't go here. He can because the queen is guarding that. So maybe we play a5, a3. We're in no rush, right? I mean, literally no rush. So bishop to f3, knight here, queen here, a5 I think is the idea, a3, knight goes to a6, then we play, oh no, if he goes here then we have to trade knights and his queen gets in, so that looks terrible. Let's go a3. I don't want any of this shenanigans. So we got a light square bishop, and we got a dark square pawn complex. Very not contradictory, very complementary. Surprisingly, it's him this time. It's running out of it's running low on time. He's got 5 minutes. I got 7 minutes left. I think we'll go for a walk after this. Get outside. It's a beautiful day outside. Trading queens, is that going to be useful? Absolutely. Absolutely. Get a rook into c5. Oof. Leave the knight on d3. Bishop f3. Yeah, queen trade on c5, rook c5, knight stays on d3. Bishop goes to f3, dominating. The other rook comes to c1, and I think we're just gonna end up with some sweet tactics. Either taking on b5 with a rook because the c pawn is pinned, or even like if the knight stays on d5, bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, rook takes d5 kind of stuff. Also, his pieces are just so passive. It's incredibly difficult to play positions where your pieces are behind your pawns. So if you're ever wondering, do I want my pieces that kind of look like they're ready to jump into the action behind my pawns, or whether I want to put them in front and just be nice and active, probably 9 times out of 10, your pieces belong in front of your pawns. Now, granted, you know, every position is different. Like, look at my knight right now. He's definitely beautifully placed, ready to jump anywhere on the board. That being said, I still want my bishop out, right? I want my bishop in front of the pawns really strong. And these are the kind of situations that I don't think you want to end up in. I just go queen here, queen takes, knight takes, and then I open up the bishop. So he obviously wants to go here or here. I do want the queen trade. But I also want to stop this move. This move looks quite annoying. So let's say queen here, queen takes, rook takes, knight here. Oh, I can always slide the rook over and up because the knight guards the b pawn. So we're not even in danger of anything. If he goes here, same thing. We're guarding this pawn. And the rook here can never be attacked by anything except for the knight. But then I can always just go back. So queen here, queen takes. Do we take with the knight or with the rook? I do like rook takes, then knight goes here, but then the rook goes back to c2. We prepare to double up. We're still defending b2. His knight doesn't look that great. And if he ever tries to come here, we can always take with the bishop. So yeah, queen to c5. What if he declines the queen trade and goes here? Maybe then the queen slides over and then the knight jumps in. And then the bishop comes here, and then we double stack. That looks pretty useful. As long as I stop him from pushing this, and I get the knight in here, that's what I really care about. So yeah, let's offer a queen trade. Just want to trade down to my good pieces versus his bad pieces. His queen's the only active piece. She's pretty centrally located, got some nice pressure on my position, nice defense of everything. If we trade queens, then the only piece that's left that's good is this piece, and if I can trade my bishop for his knight, then we're doing well. But I guess my opponent left, so we'll give him another like 3 or 4 seconds, but he logged off, so we can claim the victory. Positionally, really challenging game to play for black. Let's see what the evaluation is. All right. It's only plus 1.5, 1.6, but yeah, it's really nice position. Computer doesn't want the queen trade. That makes a lot of sense. Let's go back to the opening and see if we missed anything. Queen c2. I like this move, and a lot of people don't play g6 here. So here I play bishop f4. It just wants e3. That's interesting. Bishop f4 wants the bishop trade, but we drop back. Doesn't change the evaluation. Same thing as if we played bishop takes d6. Castles, e3. Bishop takes now, pawn takes. Actually improves our evaluation. Goes from plus 0.5 to plus 0.7. Good to know. I put the knight in the center. It does not like that move. Too aggressive. Too aggressive. Yeah, that makes sense. Probably knight here and then preparing this would make a lot more sense. Yeah. Knight just traded him off. He wants bishop takes. This bishop takes, black is slightly better. But queen takes. Knight d2. Bishop d3. There, and now we go knight to f3, and I feel like, yeah, we're back in the driver's seat. Back in that typical advantage. Bishop takes, goes there. Now the knight jumps in, he goes queen here. Do we have bishop takes b5? No. Bishop takes b5 would be beautiful because of this pin, but he has queen a4 check, and bing bang boom, we lose a piece. So I played bishop to e2 with the idea to go to f3. I thought this was where he belonged. Computer wants bishop d3. I don't know if it really matters that much because this is actually an option too. Castles. Rook there, queen there, knight here. Where did I lose? Because it's plus 2.8. Queen here, not the best move. Very interesting. Just says increase the pressure or put the knight on c5. Oh, the knight on c5 guards this, and then the bishop here, and it's guarded that way. So that's why knight to c5 is better. But it's still plus 1.6. Queen trade is plus 1.5, so not really that big of a deal. What do we play after this? Queen here. If knight here. Queen here. Knight goes back. Can we play bishop f3? Whoa, that makes sense, because now if the knight moves, you get the queen trade. Sneaky, sneaky. But yeah, positionally, just a pretty dominating position. Let's go back to where he resigned here. Yeah, white's doing really well. Key outpost squares for the knight, backward pawn, easily target, double up the rooks. The plan for white is very simple. Plan for black is not. My opponent actually came back to analyze the game. Let's tell him, hey, good game. The game will be on YouTube at Kaizen Chess. I should say the game analysis. All right, guys. Catch you next time. Bye.